When it comes to Britain's motorways, when does smart become stupid?
I'm stuck in the middle of the M6. My car's broken down. I've got a family of 5 in the car.
Okay, don't worry.
Oh, shit!
Hello? Hello?
Taking away the hard shoulder was meant to increase capacity and ease congestion. But dozens of people have been killed on these so-called smart motorways.
I thought my whole world was going to end. I shook for 6 weeks. I actually shook for 6 weeks.
The experts seem divided.
Generally speaking, they are about as safe as conventional motorways. If you look at the headline statistics,
Smart motorways are not as safe as conventional motorways.
So what makes these roads so controversial?
Why isn't there a hard shoulder on them? I don't understand what the logic is on their thinking.
And do their pros outweigh their cons?
People die in their cars. We need to address the issues of safety.
It was a Friday, and Fridays we always went to Costa Coffee in the morning before work. We'd set off a bit earlier.
Claire Mercer had never heard of a smart motorway before, but one was about to change her life.
The plan was for me to get the bus to work and for Jason to get straight on the motorway and go to 2 different sites that he was in charge of looking after.
After meeting for breakfast, Claire's husband Jason had a minor bump with another driver and pulled over to exchange details.
I started to realise that a bit more time than I thought had passed, and he hadn't messaged me, and he always messaged me. Even when he was just going to work, he always messaged me. So I just dropped him a message. I didn't get a response.
The area of road where Jason had stopped was a smart motorway. The hard shoulder had been converted into a running lane.
Because they look the same, people don't realise they're on one. That lane is still there. You just can't use it for what you wanted and what you thought it was there for. It's only when you have a problem that you think, oh, this is a running lane. Where am I meant to stop?
A smart motorway is supposed to detect stationary vehicles and close the lane via the overhead gantries. But neither vehicle was detected, and the lane remained open.
I turned around and I could see 2 police uniforms through the front door. I opened the door and said, "Is he alive?" And the male officer said, "Let's go in." And I said, "Is he alive?" And he said, "Come on, let's go in." And I said, "Is he alive?" And I wasn't meaning to be obstructive, but my brain had just switched off and I was just stood in the middle of the doorway and they couldn't get past me and they couldn't move me. And he just said no. And I fell on the floor.
As the 2 men stood in front of their vehicles to exchange details, a lorry hit the back. Both of them were killed.
You see so many people on the news saying, "We just don't want this to happen to anybody else." And now it's me.
Instead of a hard shoulder, smart motorways do have emergency refuge areas, but these can be up to 2.5 miles apart. And this is the problem that Jason faced. If you need to stop and you're between 2 refuge areas, you're put in massive danger.
If you can't drive to it, it might be 100 yards away. It might be 20 yards away and you simply can't reach it. You're stopped in a live lane carrying high-speed traffic.
if you do not reach a refuge area, you are going to have to come to a standstill as far left as you possibly can. Once you do that, you should exit the vehicle to the left, get yourself over the barrier and call 999.
The advice seems simple: get out and get clear. But there is a huge section of society that this overlooks. Following a spinal infection, Carla was left partially paralysed and now has reduced mobility.
Do you think you'd be able to get over the crash barrier?
Absolutely not, no. To normal people, you just walk. It's just a muscle memory. You just get up and go. But I have to really think about how I move. So if I've got to move quickly out of the way of something, it's not going to happen.
The advice that is given is not really applicable if you are unable to jump out of your vehicle and jump over the barrier. What happens in that situation? What happens in that scenario?
My own father drove a specially adapted vehicle that he could drive his powered wheelchair into the back of. If he'd had to stop on a smart motorway, he'd have had to release the brakes to move his chair, put a tail lift down, and driven backwards down a tail lift on a live lane. I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about.
Why is there no representation for us? Like, why is nobody saying, hang on a minute, not everybody is going to be able to do this?
If it is not safe to exit your vehicle, the advice is to switch on your hazard lights and wait for the lane to be closed. But the life-saving technology that's supposed to detect stopped vehicles is only installed on less than 20% of the network. Without this, it takes on average 17 minutes until a stopped vehicle is detected.
A lot can happen in 17 minutes, and all it takes is for somebody to not be watching where they're going, to be ignoring signs, to anything. Even now they're rolling out new smart motorways such as the M4 that this hasn't been done or isn't being done.
The scheme is a cost-effective way of reducing journey times and increasing capacity, but the price of these roads isn't always measured in pounds and pence. For Mira, smart motorways cost her the life of her 8-year-old son.
Dev was incredible. He was a beautiful little boy. He was so kind and compassionate, sweet, hardworking. He just loved everything about everything, and his most favourite person in the world was his brother. He put him first for everything, really. That week Neil was very poorly, and on that particular day he progressively got worse during the day. We had driven him down to Birmingham Children's Hospital and admitted him in. We were unsure about the outcome, and so they came to see his brother on that day.
On the way back from visiting his brother in hospital, Dev's granddad's car stopped on the M6. The hard shoulder was being used as a running lane, and there was no emergency bays in sight. The vehicle had only been stopped for 45 seconds when it was hit by an HGV.
I've lost my child, and it's the worst thing that anyone could ever go through, any mother could ever go through.
People die in their cars, and I've seen it many, many times. It's heartbreaking. They've lost their loved one and they're not coming back.
Jesus! Oh my God!
But at the end of the day, they're dangerous. They place the user in danger.
As far as the driving public is concerned, they have a perception that these motorways are unsafe.
In response to this lack of public confidence, some safety improvements have been made. The emergency bays have been made clearer, they're now orange, and on new motorways, the distance between them has been made shorter. But for some, this is not enough. And for Claire, the next step is legal action.
I'm still very much taking this judicial review, but obviously a pandemic has kind of delayed things. Apparently we're ready, we're just waiting for a court date.
But motoring organisations like the RAC are looking for more immediate improvements.
We want a greater public awareness campaign, the latest stop vehicle detection technology to be used, enforcement of the red X's, and we just want drivers to feel safe.
With a further 300 miles of smart motorway planned in the next 10 years, is this enough to save lives on a road where a breakdown could be fatal?
You just don't want other people to go through this. It damn nearly killed me, so it would kill other people.
The jury's still out on whether smart motorways can live up to their name.